Hey y'all, it's Care. Today's video is going to be super fun because I'm going to be ranking 10 recent must-reads. So even though I'm not going to be talking about all of the books I've read over the past few months, I really wanted to make a video where I highlight and showcase my absolute favorites. Most of these were 5-star reads, but I'm still going to be keeping that ranking format. So I'm going to start with the books that I just generally recommend and then get to the absolute must-reads, like the books you have to read as soon as possible. But first, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Ana Luisa Jewelry. You can go ahead and click the link in my description box below to head over to their website and get 10% off when you shop for their ethically sourced and sustainable jewelry. The pieces are high quality, but they're really affordable, with pieces starting at just $39 and then also ranging to those higher end pieces. But the best part about this brand is their mission to offset 100% of their carbon emissions. And they actually have really fast shipping, and the jewelry pieces come in these super cute pouches made out of recycled materials. I do like to keep my jewelry in here, and I also love to use these when I travel. I wear this jewelry literally every day, and I'm so excited to show you these new pieces, starting with these Jessica earrings. I love these heart pendants. I think they're so pretty and so girly, and they're a little bit chunkier than I'm used to wearing, but if I'm not in the mood to layer earrings going up my lobe or up my cartilage on the side, I think that a chunkier piece is really cute and eye-catching. And then sticking with the heart theme, I also have this Hannah Lee heart necklace. It's got, oh, it's backwards. There we go. I love this necklace. It has a really unique detail in that it clasps in the front. I'm trying to show you here. So, whoop, you just pull right there. The reason I love this so much is because I know that the clasp in the back isn't gonna be twisting around, and I'm not gonna be messing with it all day. You know, as long as I feel this in the front, then I know everything's facing straight on. And then I also have this Miche black necklace. It adds a little bit of edginess when I'm wearing something a little softer, like this pink checked picnic type dress, and I think it looks really cute with the heart. I just realized I feel like the black and this red heart together, it's giving like Eddie Munson from Stranger Things. Really into that. Overall, I always feel like the pieces that I get from Ana Luisa are dainty and pretty enough to not conflict with any type of print or pattern or texture that I want to wear in my clothes. But at the same time, they're so unique that they really do hold their own if you want to wear something plain like a sweatshirt or white or black t-shirt. These pieces go with everything. So don't forget to click the link in my description box below to visit the Ana Luisa website and use my code CarolineJohnson10 to get 10% off of your purchase. Thanks again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. I love your jewelry so much. Okay, let's talk about the books. So I'm gonna start off the video just by saying I really enjoyed Wow No Thank You by Samantha Irby a few months ago. This is a collection of essays, and every single one is hilarious. It's just one of those books that I got a few essays in, and I was just immediately texting all of my friends, and I was trying to tell them some of the stories like completely out of context so they would laugh with me. Obviously they had no idea what was going on, so I just made them read it as well. Or I don't know if they read it or not. I begged them to read it. Just a good mix of the off-the-wall style of humor, but then the funniest parts are these true stories where it's like hard to believe that these things actually happened, but I definitely believe her. And then also, I'm not gonna be ranking these because I've read like however many Catherine Ryan Howard books are in her backlist. I am obsessed with Catherine Ryan Howard. I've talked about her before on my channel. I feel like I was really getting into her right before I had to take like a small YouTube break or a long YouTube break. I trudged through and finished her entire backlist, and I am eagerly awaiting, I think it's called Runtime, which is her new book. It comes out either August 17th or 18th, and I can't wait for it to come out. I just happen to be holding 56 Days. It's not necessarily my favorite. I would say my favorite I've already talked about before. It's called Rewind, but I also love Distress Signals. Obviously The Nothing Man. I also read The Liars Girl. They're all so good, and if you've not been reading Catherine Ryan Howard and you like mystery books, like I would say that these are more traditional type Irish crime novels. We're following detectives, we've got multiple POVs, and even though I don't know of any one of her books that I've read so far has been like a standout 5-star read, I don't think I've ever read a book that's been less than 4.5, 4 stars. Like, she is just so solid and so consistent. I didn't want to make a video without like recommending just reading her entire backlist or keeping an eye out for her upcoming book in August. So getting into the rankings, I guess I don't know, let me just count really fast. Okay, so now I have 7 books to rank. So starting with number 7, and again, this is not a book I didn't like. I love all of these books, and these are my favorite books from the past few months. Okay, number 7 is gonna be The Island by Adrian McKenty. This is the same author as The Chain, which I thought had an amazing first 50% when I read that a few years ago with my friends Haley and Jess, but we all kind of agreed that the second half, or like the last third, just went off the rails, and it was a choice, and it wasn't a choice that I really cared for that much, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for like that story as a whole. But I do think Mackenzie's a talented author and really knows how to write super stressful situations, as shown in The Island. This is a really fast-paced thriller, which is one of my favorite things in a book. I love it when a lot of action is condensed to just a really short period of time. I love the high-octane, high-stakes plots. I would say this book fits into a family vacation gone wrong trope. Things go wrong really quickly in this family's trip to Australia. I don't want to give too much away because the less you know going into this book, the better, I would say. I can tell you basically it's a big game of cat and mouse, and if you like that type of dynamic between characters, I think you're really going to enjoy this. There are a few scenes in this book that were really hard for me to stomach, and I've talked with a few friends since finishing it, specifically Sav from Riveting Reads, and she was like, what specifically upset you about this? Like, she was not fazed. And I don't know, there were definitely 2 or 3 scenes that had me feeling a little sick. I had to take a break, but I did read this in one day, just about one sitting. Like, I couldn't put it down. I really wanted to know what was gonna happen. And it's not necessarily because it's a super elevated writing style, or like, I didn't really even care for the characters that much. Like, I wasn't that attached, but I couldn't stop reading because I just had to know how they were gonna get out of this situation, or like even if they could. Next is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. This is another one, this is such a cop-out, and I swear I'm telling you the truth. This is another one where I feel like the less you know going into it, the better. I knew absolutely nothing other than people were saying that they were confused the entire time until the very end, and that the end was making them want to start the book over immediately and read it knowing what they know by the end of the book. I completely agree with that. I would say mainly we're following this man who is kind of a recluse, even though there are different perspectives. We even have we have a cat POV, as I'm sure you've heard. But just immediately we're not sure how we feel about this narrator. I'm not saying like we're suspicious of if it's an unreliable narrator or not. It's just like some things are presented up front where you're getting morally gray from this guy. As the story goes, it just continues to twist into things that you're not expecting. I will go ahead and tell you, if you're really craving haunted house energy, that's not what this book is. For some reason I had it in my head that this was gonna be a haunted house, I guess because the cover kind of feels like that. And anytime that house is included in the title of a book, I'm gonna think it's haunted. My final pitch to try to get you to read this book is that I really love a carefully crafted twist, and something that even if it does feel like it's out of left field, or you didn't see it coming, or you're blindsided, it makes sense when you go back and start tracking things. I think that sometimes twists that come out of nowhere and have to be explained to the reader because of information that we didn't previously know, I'm not a fan. That feels lazy to me most of the time, or all the time. And this one, it took me a second because I thought, how would we have ever known that's what was going on? But the more I thought through it, I wanted to start rereading because I realized, oh my gosh, it was kind of right in front of us the whole time. Next is more of a backlist title. I feel like so far I've been talking about pretty new releases. This one is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I've been trying to work my way through Lisa Jewell's backlist. This one I feel like is everyone's favorite Lisa Jewell, and I feel like that might have put me off from it just a little bit. Not that like I want to be different, and I'm not like other girls, I'm not like other reader girls. But this one, I also was hesitant to start because people kept saying, yeah, it's a thriller, but also it's really not, and it's very sad. It's about this woman who years ago her daughter went missing, and she's just never gotten over it. And it's just really torn this woman's life apart. But close to the beginning of the book, she meets this new man, and it's kind of a whirlwind romance. And when she meets the man's daughter, the daughter is a spitting image of a younger version of the main character's daughter who went missing long ago. So immediately, as a reader, you're trying to like put it all together in your head, like, oh, I think I know exactly what is going on here. But no, this is a very complicated story. This is definitely a mystery, like maybe a suspenseful mystery. I think it's a great character study. I think there's a lot of great commentary on grief. I teared up multiple times just trying to finish this book kind of towards the end. It was a really emotional journey, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. And I've not been telling, I think everything's been like 4 stars so far. This is the first 5-star book. Everything from here on out is gonna be 5 stars from me. And I guess my advice is just, if you're kind of like me and you think it might be overhyped, or it doesn't necessarily sound like it's gonna be for you, maybe give it a try, just because I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. Getting into another 5-star read, of course, it's False Witness by Karen Slaughter. Karen Slaughter is my favorite author. She can do no wrong. This one is about an Atlanta lawyer who has to take on a case that is somehow linked to something really traumatic that happened to her and then also her sister in their childhood. I love the way that Karen Slaughter writes about sisterly relationships. I don't have a sister. Why am I telling you that? I remember when I first got this book and I was so excited to start it because the plot sounded so good, but I was intimidated because this one is really, really long, kind of nearing 500 pages, but you know, with the little words on the page. I wasn't sure what kind of commitment I was gonna have to give it, but I flew through this. It was so exciting. If you know you like legal thrillers, this is a must read. If you don't, I have to say, I feel like most Karen Slaughter books have a lot of legal jargon, but she always explains things in a way where I'm not confused and I don't know anything about anything at all. Another one that just made me sob at the ending. I was crying. I remember I was going back and forth reading this physically, and I had an audiobook too because I drive a lot every day. I have a 45-minute commute to and from work, so I'm in the car like an hour and a half at minimum each day. So I remember on my way to work one morning, I finished this audiobook and cried, just shamelessly walked into work crying. Okay, now getting into the top 3 of the video. I'm so excited to talk about this one. It is A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I was raving about this on my Goodreads a few months ago. This book starts out with this man named Travis, and he's been hired by a family because he can touch something and find a missing person, like if that object related to that person in a special way. So this family, their daughter has been missing. Her name is Maggie, and she's actually this well-renowned children's book author. She's gone missing, so he starts trying to track her down, and then in the process, he also goes missing. All we know about these two is that they're linked to something like this community called Pastoral. So then, like, flash forward to the future, someone finds Travis's truck right outside of the community that they're not supposed to leave. That person has to try to figure out, like, oh, did someone from the outside infiltrate the community, or like, is the community not what I think it is? It was so good. I actually forced my mom to read this book, and she liked it. Like, she really enjoyed it. I've been trying to get one of my other friends to read it as well. It just totally is not what I was expecting, and I felt so connected to every character in this book. I was completely invested. This is another one I finished in a day. I mean, I was just on a reading spree a couple months ago. One of the descriptors on the inside dust jacket says hauntingly beautiful. That is the best way to describe this book. It is so atmospheric. Like, whatever vibes you're picking up from the front of the book, that's what's also on the inside of this book. It was very hypnotic and just sucked me into this world. Oh my gosh, it's like The Village. If you've ever seen the M. Night Shyamalan The Village, not like linking it thematically to that movie, but just thinking about that type of community and just like how things are familiar but still odd, and then just like some things that they do are just whack. I loved it, and I feel like my heart is pounding. I'm getting really excited just talking about it again. I know that there are a lot of mixed feelings on the ending of this book. I'm team pro the way this book ended. I loved it. Okay, now we're gonna talk about Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. Trigger warning, like heavy content warning for gun violence in this book. That's something that I am especially sensitive to, and it's something that made me put this book off for so long despite a lot of recommendations. It takes place over the course of just a few hours. It's pretty short, and it was one of the most suspenseful books I've ever read. This is a book about a mom who has taken her young son to the zoo, and right at closing time, you know, she gets her son, they're about to leave, and I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, it's not a spoiler, it happens right at the beginning. They hear gunfire. If that's something you're sensitive to, do not read this book. It's incredibly graphic and sickening, that showed the lengths this woman would go to out of the love she has for her son. There were a lot of great discussions on different people's morals and what makes someone a hero. I have chills thinking about it. This is another one where you can't help but fall in love with these characters, which is dangerous, obviously, just in telling you what the plot is up front, but it was an emotional read. I still have chills, like I wanna show you, you're not gonna be able to see, sorry about that, but it's a book that I haven't stopped thinking about since I read it. It's also a book that you can't help but place yourself in the situation of the mom or of the other characters of what would I do in this situation. I mean, there were so many times where I was having to flip the page back because I realized I had kept reading, but as people were faced with certain decisions, I was sitting there picturing myself also there thinking, oh, I would have done that differently, or this is what I would have done instead, or yeah, I agree with that person. And then my mind was taking off, running in a different direction, like adding on to the story. Again, it's not gonna be for everyone, and it feels really strange to recommend, I guess, considering the content matter, but it's really how the characters are brought to life that makes me recommend this book so highly. So again, be careful going into it. It's a new favorite thriller, for sure. And lastly is my favorite book that I've read so far this year. It's probably like a new, am I focused? Hello. It's probably a new all-time favorite. I wanna say it's right up there with American Kingpin. A Little Life is on its different, you know, tier completely, but this might be like my favorite traditional type thriller, suspense thriller horror of all time. A Simple Plan by Scott Smith. No words. This has my favorite trope of all time, which is regular people are placed in a simple type of situation, and then they may have to make a decision. And then that decision splits off different decisions. And then before you know it, things are just snowballing out of control until they reach a point of no return. This book begins with two brothers and one of the brothers' friends. They stumble across a plane crash in the woods, and it's snowing. Snowy setting, 10 stars. In the plane, they find millions of dollars. There's also a dead pilot in the plane, but they don't know whose money this is. They don't know if anyone is looking for it. I won't tell you exactly, but of course they create a plan to take this money. So that's the first decision they're faced with, and from there, it's horrible. Starting around page 40 or so, I just had a knot in my stomach, and I had it throughout the rest of the entire book. It was so fast paced, but at the same time, I was like flipping the pages like this because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I feel like I got an ulcer just from reading this book. This is also a movie. I'm not sure which year the movie came out in, but Billy Bob Thornton is in the movie, a fave. If you've seen Fargo, the TV show, he plays the villain in season 1, and I kind of pictured not that energy, but like, you know, that creepy type face. I don't know. I'm so sorry, Billy Bob. I loved the exploration between the different loyalties that certain characters had with one another. I loved the like, I can't tell you. The death toll is higher than you would think it would be. It's higher than I thought it was gonna be. It's wild. And everything culminates in this final type scene. Maybe not final, but like final big action scene that I kept thinking, no, there's no way. It's literally, it could not get worse than this right now. And then it got worse about 4 or 5 more times within like a couple pages. Loved it, obsessed with it. Same author as The Ruins, which another all-time favorite. That one's more like specifically horror. I would still categorize this as like a suspense thriller. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I feel confident about. Anyway, those are all of my recent absolute must-reads. Please read A Simple Plan. Also, don't forget to use the link in my description box below. Use code CarolineJohnson10 to get 10% off of your Ana Luisa jewelry purchase. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.